In Chapter 1 of my Deserts of India series, I brought you glimpses of some of the wildlife that these arid lands are home to. I was primarily on the lookout for mating foxes, but getting proper photographic opportunities was proving to be more challenging than I expected. In this chapter, I'm bringing you a little more of the biodiversity that's out here. I'll also introduce you to a community of people long forgotten by the rest of the world and show you how almost every single one of you might be connected to them. Stay tuned for the marvels of this great desert and the many stories behind them. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kenneth and this is Chapter 2 of my Deserts of India series happening entirely in the Little Rann of Kutch. Before I continue the video, I'd like to wish you all a very happy new year. You guys are a wonderful audience and that's the greatest gift that any artist could ask for. Back inside the bumpy, lumpy desert. Not sure if you can see this, but there's a gorgeous sun right behind us. There's a gorgeous sun right behind us. Just like the last couple of days, the Indian and the desert foxes continued to be my subject of focus. Sunrise would be the perfect time to capture them. We saw an Indian fox on our way out of the run last evening, but it was too dark to shoot. So we spent our first bit of the morning scouting the same area. This is where we saw the Indian fox last evening. It was very dark, couldn't get a shot. But at least we got to see two desert foxes and one Indian fox on the same day. Like I said earlier, they were very shy, the mating pair. The Indian fox wasn't all that shy. He stopped for a while, or she, and then went into the darkness. Luck wasn't on our side, and we didn't even sight it. Mornings are a great time for birds, so we head out into the open to capture raptors. My 200 to 400mm lens has an inbuilt 1.4x teleconverter, taking my maximum focal reach up to 560mm. With the Super 35 crop mode on the Lumix S1H, I had a higher effective reach of approximately 840mm. But clearly, even that wasn't enough for this unusually shy peregrine falcon. After a fair bit of driving, it was time to bring out the big guns. This is the Canon 800mm f5.6 beast of a lens. Paired with the Super 35 crop mode, I managed a ridiculous 1200mm focal reach. As the common phrase goes, it's never enough. Peregrine falcon is back and we're trying to get some shots as close as possible. Dude, there's something flying there behind. It's much larger. Okay, there's another bird within sight. We're just gonna try to identify it. Much larger than the peregrine falcon. Oh, it's an imperial eagle.
Samat! Imperial!
We're just gonna wait for it to land. If it lands, we'll probably try getting a shot. The imperial eagle didn't end up landing, and it was another opportunity missed. For anyone who thinks wildlife photography is a walk in the park, this series will assure you that the reality of it is nothing short of consecutive struggles. And speaking of struggles, I'd like to introduce you to a community of people disconnected from the rest of humanity. Meet the Agariyas. They are the salt farmers of the Rann of Kutch. They coexist with the other desert inhabitants, and they live one of the toughest lives on earth. Across the entire run, they are responsible for harvesting an astonishing 75% of India's salt produce. This astronomical contribution from one single origin indicates that every single traveling Indian has consumed a meal seasoned by the salt of Kutch. How in the world does so much salt exist here? In a near barren desert of all places. The Rann was once a seabed until 2 centuries ago. The earthquake of 1819 isolated it from the Gulf of Kutch, an inlet of the Arabian Sea. Every monsoon, the extreme tides flood the Rann, transforming it into a seabed again. When the monsoons end and the water retreats, a parched salt marsh is rebirthed. Deep beneath the surface, the saline brine that's left behind has more concentrated salt than the seawater it originated from. This white gold attracts several thousands of Agariya families who must withstand temperatures as high as 48 degrees Celsius during the day and as low as single digits at night. They work up to 10 hours a day, collectively extracting thousands of tons of salt during peak season. And how much do they earn? As low as 1 rupee for every 100 kilograms sold. That's a negligible $0.014 US for every 220 pounds. Salt companies and the many middlemen involved make the highest buck. The Agariyas are amongst the hardest working people alive. When you compare the amount of time and effort invested, homeless people in the city make more money. Low incomes mean no education and no health care. Most of the Agariyas operate barefoot, without gloves and protective sunglasses. This causes skin lesions and severe eye damage, amongst other complications. Living beyond the age of 60 is uncommon amongst this community. When the deceased are cremated, their frail, stiffened legs don't burn with the rest of their bodies. Exposure to such high concentrations of salt spares nothing. When the monsoons arrive next, these makeshift houses will be submerged and the salt farmers will vacate them until the next panning season. There's a popular saying, if you ate today, thank a farmer. If you have plans of visiting the Rann of Kutch, carry a little something for the people here. you'll make more than just their day. Shallow wetlands filled with brackish water attract hundreds of thousands of lesser and greater flamingos. They feed on aquatic life like plankton, algae, mollusks, and shrimps. Their rosy pink color comes from the beta-carotene pigment in their prey. Dated reports indicate that these flamingos have been visiting the run for over a century. With the sun rising overhead, we broke for lunch. I had a little time to kill, so I chilled with the locusts. Birds love munching on these guys. They are an excellent source of protein. Not too far away was an old hyena den. I hope to sight and capture them a little more during my future visits here. Extended shadows were our cue to head out for evening shots. The dry mud had fox tracks imprinted in it. We tried following them but found nothing. Instead, we came across another herd of wild ass. Even though I already shot them, I couldn't resist the soft evening light. The water body in the background added so much character to the visuals. The yellows, blues, and greens complemented each other and aesthetically enriched the visuals. The car was parked a couple hundred meters away, and the crouched approach on foot helped me get closer moments. With the sun nearing the horizon, I wanted to get that classic moment of the wild ass against it. Shooting through the event of sunset would give me different hues, and that's exactly what I did. Whilst the rest of the herd walked into the horizon, one particular male wanted to display his dominance. We stayed put, and he eventually carried on. My overall sightings may have been lesser, but we had a gorgeous sunset and an even gorgeous moonrise to end the day.
It's day 4, November 29th. I really hope we get foxes today. Yesterday we covered at least 150 kilometers in one day, just inside the Rann of Kutch. And all we got were tracks of foxes. Pretty disappointing, but that's just how wildlife photography is. Let's hope things change today. And even if they don't, I'm coming once a month till March to get as much activity as I possibly can.
We didn't grab our chai this morning. I'm not much of a tea drinker back home, but I did miss it this time. I spent the new sunrise with flocks of waders. Soon after, a foraging hoopoe would challenge my manual focusing skills. It kept springing around the desert floor in search of insects and larvae. My search, however, for the Indian and the desert foxes were proving to be nearly impossible. They were an absolute no-show. Foxes have no significant natural predators here, but in recent years, a new enemy has emerged, whose numbers are increasing alarmingly. It's not man, rather it's man's best friend. Without human contact, during their early years, the domesticated dog is returning back to its wild ways. Farmers in the surrounding areas abandon dead livestock inside the run. This availability of free food and the abundance of it transform man's best friend into a bloodthirsty carnivore. The uncontrolled increase of feral dog populations poses a threat to wildlife across the country. It's no surprise that the vulnerable foxes would be in hiding, and I would have such a tough time trying to capture them on camera.
The sun's gotten really harsh and we were just about to head back to the property, where somewhere down that side of the road there was a wild ass, and through the 800mm lens I saw that there was a piece of wire or some sort of cable that was tied around its neck. And these are sights that are they're heartbreaking to witness. I mean, they're heartbreaking to see in photographs and other videos, but being able to see it live, it sort of cuts deep wounds.
After reviewing the footage, the fencing cable looked more like a noose trap. Farmers set them up to catch wild boar and prevent them from raiding their crops. Unfortunately, the other animal life also end up paying a price. To lessen the impact that human activity has on the environment and its biodiversity, some fortunate Agariyas have subsidized solar panels. This reduces the consumption of diesel-powered pumps. Money that's not spent on diesel is money saved, and that can be upwards of 60,000 rupees per season. Almost what they earn through selling salt. Initiatives like these slowly navigate the Agariya community towards a slightly easier life. Some of them can afford a much-needed motorcycle to commute the long distances for food and water. Basic amenities that are a luxury out here. Their other struggles, however, still seek solutions. I may not have gotten the subject that I had travelled so long for during my November visit, but I am confident that Jan, Feb and March will give me all that I'm looking for. I wanted this channel to be solely about nature and wildlife. But the Agariyas of this great desert have taught me that sometimes it's the story of all that lives that must be told. They have very little to call their own, yet they have everything to give. They are a forgotten people, reminding us to seek happiness in the simplest of circumstances. For those who are contented are rich. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Your support is going to help me build this channel and community and take it a long, long way. I'll see you in chapter 3.